3 things that new real estate investors get wrong constantly, over and over and over, and ultimately slows them down from getting their first deal. I want to definitely address this right now. Hey, but before we get started, if you're new here, my name is Jordan Aubrey. This is the Real Estate Investing Done Right YouTube channel, where we talk about everything real estate investing, personal finance, and just anything that allows you to win. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the channel, cut on the bell like notifications. That way you get notified whenever we're dropping gems. And during this video, make sure if you like the content, make sure you like the video. Let's keep rocking and rolling. So the top 3 things, I want to jump right into it. That way we can iron everything out, because I get all these questions. People ask me all the time, what do they need to do here? What do they need to do here? And what do they need to do here? So I want to address the top 3 things that I hear, the most common questions that I have from new real estate investors, and ultimately what's slowing them down from getting their first deal. Let's jump right into it. Number 1, a lot of you guys, how can I put it, are just waiting. Like just waiting, right? A lot of you guys aren't taking the action that's needed in order to see the success that you want to see, correct? Right? So a lot of you guys are just getting stuck at YouTube University. A lot of people tell you, oh, don't pay for a mentor. Just go to YouTube University. Well, I'm gonna be the mentor that's on YouTube for you. Get started. There's a lot of people that you can learn from. Obviously, if you're watching my video, you've probably consumed some of my content. Hey, thank you if you have. If you haven't, this is the first time, so it's new to you. So I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna be honest with you. You have to take action in this particular business. You can't sit there and get analysis by paralysis. That's where you're just taking in so much information that you're overwhelmed and you never get started. So many people go out and they do exactly that. They just get analysis by paralysis, and essentially they know every strategy in real estate investing. They've done it before, at least in their head, over 1,000 times. But they have yet to pick up the phone to actually do what's important, right? So don't get analysis by paralysis. Just get out there and start taking action. I've said it in multiple videos before, but it's essentially just like this. Look, ignorance on fire, meaning you don't know a lot, but you're out there taking action. It's better than knowledge on ice. So if you don't do anything from anything that I've ever said in any video, or is this the first one, you don't do anything from the rest of the time, make sure your ignorance on fire. You don't have to know everything. Just go out there and take action. And I promise you, for me, that's what made the difference. I paid for mentorship after I lost 15 grand on my first property. And then essentially what made the difference was me taking action. It wasn't the mentor that made all the difference. It was me taking action, taking what they said. Yeah, essentially what they said they did, taking action on that particular, in my particular market, and essentially start talking to sellers. That was most important. So what took me from doing a $6,000 fix and flip, wow, $6,000, the realtors made just about as much money as I did, $6,000 on the fix and flip, to creating 6 figures over a course of March to August. It was action. It wasn't anything else but action. So make sure you guys are taking action. Do not watch every video. Watch enough to be dangerous. And my God, when you listen to the cold call, go buy a list and go out and cold call. And then before you look at the contracts video, you should already be talking to sellers, right? And you should already be listen to the cold calling video. You should already be listening to how to talk to sellers before we even talk about a contract. If we haven't gotten to a point where we're talking to sellers, why are we worried about a contract? Because right now we don't have a deal, right? So I want to address that right now. Ignorance on fire is better than knowledge on ice. Number 2, a lot of real estate investors, what I see, that a lot of new people, they go out there, and as an old head, I would consider myself, I don't know if it's fortunate or not, but I've been in the industry where years ago it was very, very expensive to get a deal. Now you're talking about cold calling, RVMs, text messages. That stuff is very, very inexpensive. So a lot of people do it by spending just a little bit of money. They're not spending a lot of money on those particular deals. So with that being said, I need you to cut up the volume. It's not the list. It's not the marketing. It's the volume that you're doing it at, right? So just for example, just KPIs, when I first got started sending text messages, We should have closed 3 particular deals on that particular campaign, but something ended up coming up wrong. But we ended up with one and we closed for about 11 grand. But essentially what we did, we spent $1,500 on text messages. $1,500. A lot of people want to go in and spend $500, $1,000. They never want to spend more than that. They figure if they send out 50,000 text messages, they should get a deal. But essentially, the older and more veteran real estate investors, they're not thinking of how they can maximize this $500. They're thinking, how can I spend the most? That way I generate so much money that $500, $1,000, $2,000 really was minute. It wasn't worth anything. And for me, growing up in a time when I did in the real estate industry, literally we go in every month thinking we're going to spend $5 grand on marketing, right? 10 grand on marketing. Oh, you want to do even more? You got to spend 20 grand on marketing. It was just it was an ATM. Literally, you put the money in and you get the money out. But now everybody that's newer to real estate, they're thinking, oh, you don't need no more than $1,000. And yes, that is true. You don't need a lot of money. You still need the mindset that you need to go into it and do as much as possible. Just like I was talking about in the number 1, ignorance on fire. You need to do the same thing with marketing. You need to get on fire with marketing, because ultimately this is a sales business, right? It's a marketing and sales business. That means you got to be able to talk to sellers. You got to get them on the phone. You got to bring them in-house, however you're doing it, as hot leads, qualified leads. And then at that particular point, now you go out and close the particular sellers. That's where the sales side come out of it. But if you're not good at sales, how do you get better at sales? With experience, right? I talk about some negotiations, but essentially you get better at sales with experience. You got to go into everyone. And the more sellers you talk to, the easier it gets on a day-to-day basis on closing a particular seller, right? Because you've had the conversation over and over and over. And that's one thing I can attest to. I'm not smarter than you. I've just been to the table more times than you have. So I understand exactly what's going on. And for some of you guys watching this, you've been to the table more than me. It's just a part of it. But everybody has their own success. But with that being said, you just got to keep going to the table. And I think any entrepreneur, any new investor, or any investor that's been around for a long time can literally say that they just been to the table long enough to learn everything. That's essentially what happens. But number 2, you got to do enough to get you a deal. This is the bad mindset, right? And I'm just reiterating on it. But a lot of people come to me, man, I'm trying to get my first deal. I'm trying to get my first deal. I'm trying to get my first deal. The pitfall that they fall in is they try to do their first deal with a bare minimum investment, right? And this is what I always advise everybody to do. If you're looking for your first deal, do enough action to do 10 deals. And if you do enough action to do 10 deals, you'll end up with 1. You may end up with 4 or 5, right? But if you do enough action to get 10, essentially you're going to guarantee yourself the first one. And you'll be looking a whole heck of a lot closer to the second one as well. When we got started and we started 10xing our marketing with our bandit signs, we had closed 5, 6, 7 deals just like in those next couple of months, just because we got active with our marketing. Before we did 50 bandit signs, that's all we bought, period. Then when we went and bought 250, 500, then all of a sudden we start getting contracts. Then we start buying 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 because it was working, right? So that's up to me what you want to do. You want to go out there and take a lot of action. Number 3, last but not least, the one thing I see that slows everybody down from getting their first deal is ultimately you're majoring in the minors. And I know that went over your head for a lot of you guys, but that's a Jim Rohn quote. Don't major in minor things, right? Don't spend a lot of time on scheduling your day, right? Schedule it. I'm not beyond scheduling time block, do all that good stuff, but don't spend a majority of your time scheduling your day. Don't spend a majority of your time filtering through your leads. Don't spend a majority of your time cleaning up your CRM. Don't spend a majority of your time ordering a list. Don't spend a majority of your time skip tracing it, right? Don't spend a majority of your time doing all these. Yes, they are essential processes throughout being successful as a real estate investor, but essentially they are essentials but non-money making activities. You need to focus on what's very, very important. And like I said earlier today, It's a marketing and sales business. We need to be focusing on driving the leads in and talking to the consumers. If you can have a rule of thumb, however many sellers you get on the phone with, that's about how many houses you're going to get in contract with on a daily basis or on a monthly basis. So if I talk to 10 today and I'm having great conversations with those 10 every day, and I'm not the same person every day, but I'm saying a new 10 people that I'm talking to daily on a daily basis throughout that month, I'm probably going to lock up about 10 houses, right? That means my pipeline got to be full. And that means if I'm only locking up 10 houses out of 300 conversations, right? I'm filling a ton in there, right? I'm only getting 10. That's a needle in the haystack. But the way you find a needle in the haystack is you bring a magnet, right? So you got to know that you got to get in there. You got to make those phone calls, and you got to focus on what's important. And that's talking to the seller. It's not important running your ARV. Don't get me wrong. It's very important to have it, but it's not a money-making activity. Nobody gets paid in here to run the best comps, right? Nobody's going to make a living running the best comps. The comps is a tool so you can go out and ultimately close that particular deal. So those are the top 3 things that we talked about from what's slowing down you or other new investors from getting their first deal. But essentially, I want to do this. I had a comment of questions from another new investor that I want to drop some. I want to bring these comments on. This guy from named Drew Icon. Now, Drew dropped a couple of questions in my comments. So make sure if you got some questions, make sure you drop the comments down below, and I'll try to address these in another upcoming video. But essentially, these questions go something like this. A question: How do appointments work with sellers? Do you individually meet up with them to get some more information on why and how they want to sell? So essentially, appointment with the seller is to build rapport, right? That's first and foremost. You're going over there to build rapport because people ultimately like to do business with people that are like them. So you want to build rapport with that particular seller. You want to figure out why they're selling, and you want to figure out how they want to sell. 9 times out of 10, the people that we deal with, we close quick, and that's one of the benefits of going with a cash investor. No inspections is almost like just a guaranteed amount of money, set price on your particular property. So a lot of times, that's kind of already done as far as how they want to sell. That's kind of already done for them. But essentially, yes, that's exactly what we're doing, right? So that's a good question. I also got another question. Also, how does the payout work? For instance, when you lock up a contract for and the seller wants to sell for $150,000, do you sell it slightly higher? Or do you split the difference from the latter? Now, split the difference from the latter. If I could explain it, I would. I don't know exactly what you're meaning to ask right there, but I can tell you exactly how does the payout work, right? So if you get it under contract for $150,000, your job as an investor or wholesaler, fix and flipper, it doesn't matter. If you're talking about wholesale strictly, it's going to be you get paid for getting it under contract at $150,000, and you're going to get the spread between what you sell it for. So you're going to get it under contract for $150. You're going to sell it for $160, and then you're going to get the $10,000 at the end. The seller's going to get the $150, and the buyer's going to bring the $160. Right? That way everybody gets paid, and the buyer actually pays all the closing costs as well. So that doesn't come out of your commission. Now, some of them I've gotten assignment fees as large as $72,000. Exact same thing. We locked it up for around $108. We sold it for around $180, and we got the spread in between, which is equal now to $72,000, right? So it just works out depending on, I don't think that number's right at all as far as what we did, but it was $72,000. I know that for sure. That's what it was. But essentially, that's how it works. You just get paid out through the title company like that. And last question he had: Hey, when a contract is closed, do you send the contract to the title company and they will deal with the details? Essentially, yes. Now, it's not when the contract is closed, it's when the contract is signed that you actually send it to the title company. And then at that particular point, you will actually, they will actually deal with the details, making sure the buyer is there, making sure the seller is there, making sure everybody is on the same page as far as coordinating the deal, and then making sure if they need a notary, they'll do all that stuff. But make it easy for you. The title company handles the hard part. I would say not the hard part, but more of that, dealing with the tedious work, while you can go focus on making another $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. This business has literally changed my life, and I hope it does the exact same for you. So That's the last question from a man, Drew. Drew, thank you for actually asking those questions. I love this stuff. So if you guys got some questions, make sure you put them in the comments below. I love to hear from you. Let me know exactly where you're from. Let me know how I can help you out, maybe for another topic that could actually bring you some value and push you forward to closer to your first deal. And with that being said, hey, you guys know, keep winning.